Business partnership. I get asked the question all of the time, what is business partnership? And when we work with teams, we're often asking the team, well, what is business partnership to them? And we get various answers all of the time. Lack of alignment in those answers is a really big challenge that teams are working with. So business partnership fundamentally is a consultation of others in your business to help them navigate through their strategic and most highest value priorities in their role. And that's underpinned by the right tasks, engagements, assets, tools, whatever it takes to bring that to life within the context of your business. When it comes to changing behaviour, and business partnership is a behaviour, we would not recommend that you go to training. Now that sounds really interesting coming from a learning and development consultancy that fundamentally embeds training and workshops and different learning strategies into the way we work with teams. But training in isolation is a really big risk when it comes to the change of behaviour. So if we're looking for business partners to reshape their focus, to practice something that is probably not familiar, probably not something they were developed in early in their career, we need to look at a different way of focusing on the change. And we call them learning journeys. So how do we develop a space of time that is measurable, that is mapped out with a various range of engagements or interactions that allow that person to test, to learn, to experiment with real scenarios and also safe environment simulated situations that might be around different content and different ideas that bring that to life. And so with that in mind, I would highly recommend it if you are looking to support your team changing the way they perform, is to focus on what is it that you need to see from them in the end, how do you measure that change, and what milestones of education, insight, learning experiences could build that experience across that time frame. I get asked all the time when I look at business partnership and working with teams, where are the common mistakes? And some of those mistakes are really obvious and they're in your face, and sometimes they're not quite obvious. Today I'm going to talk about some of the things that aren't quite obvious but need to be addressed. The first one that I want to talk about is assumptions. Great business partners, really intelligent people in business can often make assumptions that lead to some really poor decisions, really poor outcomes, a lot of rework, and potentially a lot of pressure pushing back on your function. And assumptions are fundamentally at the most risky place when it comes to massive problems that your stakeholders are trying to navigate, and you not being part of a deeper understanding of why your work connects to a particular outcome. And so this notion of trying to move forward to a solution, this notion of trying to get an answer out really, really quickly is something that we've been accustomed to because we're so busy, because there's lots of expectations of us. But what that leads to is assumptions that lead to fundamentally making a mistake. The second thing is making time or prioritizing time. Business partnership is a way of being, a way of operating, and given the transition that most finance professionals go through at some point, they will need to reorientate their time towards business partnership-based activities. So what does that mean? It fundamentally means that you need to look at reducing or removing low-value tasks, delegating, shaping the way you operate in order to put consultation at the forefront of what your work involves. And the final piece, which is really interesting, is the type of activities you do. So the things you do and how you set business partnership up for success is important. So one of the common mistakes are that we're not doing the things that are actually value creating or partnership oriented, and we become positioned in a sort of master-servant relationship where we get asked to do tasks, we get a little bit confused, we think we're partnering because we're actually liked, we're valued from the point of view of trustworthiness, but we're actually not involved in critical conversations, we're not involved in facilitating strategic direction of the organisation, and we don't actually have a seat at the table. So confusing, I guess, being busy on certain activities versus doing certain activities that get us that partnership lens to our work is a real differentiator. So there's three areas where I'd look out. I'd be really cautious as whether I'm actually confusing, I guess, my activity and my energy for the certain value you can bring to the table.